Okay.
We'll edit out that yawn.
Keep it in.
Keep it in. The fans need to see it.
People need to see that.
Really
They need to know that I'm a real human.
Right. Who's this girl you had on that never yawned once?
I don't even think I saw her blink. I don't know.
She didn't cough. She didn't wheeze.
Absolutely nothing. There was no stuttering in her speech.
No pristine speech.
Is this bad that I'm literally facing the video camera?
No, do what you want. Yeah. Yeah, please do whatever you want.
Oh gosh.
Yeah.
No, then I'm gonna leave.
That's rude and hurtful. Okay. I'm gonna press play now.
So should I shut up?
And that's again up to you, but yes. And there'll be a little intro music, then I'll hop into it. Okay. Okay, welcome to Of Stone and Clay. We are here with Natalie Pliler.
Nice.
Is that how you pronounce it?
Yep, great pronunciation.
Pliler. Pliler.
Pliler.
Okay. Sweetest Natalie. She has joined us today against all odds.
That's true, actually.
She's made it here. Natalie and I have been friends for maybe 2 years-ish. Maybe three. Probably hung out 3 or 4 times.
In those couple of years.
I wouldn't say we're crazy close, but I wouldn't say we're very far.
We're distant.
Okay, and we'll be wrapping up.
That's all we have time for, so.
Unfortunately, this is a micro episode, a new series we're doing. No, yeah, we're a little distant, I'll say it.
Yeah.
It hurts, but I'll say it. We hung out on rocks one night.
That was nice.
We've swam.
Multiple times.
We've swum. It's actually swum.
There's no way.
But we've swum. What else have we done?
Hung out in a basement.
We've hung out in...
Probably thrown pool balls around the pool table.
Yeah. I don't think we've eaten food. I don't think we've...
I feel like one time we must have gone to Cafe Rio.
You just assume every guy. I've had to have a burrito with you.
I had to have some sort of Mexican food with you.
I'm open to it in the future, but I really don't think we have.
Alright. Did we go on a trip together?
I would be upset if we went on a trip together and you didn't remember it.
That's true.
But I wouldn't be surprised.
Also true.
Okay. Natalie, we call her Buzz in the community. I think it kind of probably started out meant to be a little mean.
It was.
And pejorative.
It totally was mean.
But then you found it endearing nonetheless.
Yeah, I did.
I
think it was because it was like a correct mean.
Okay.
It was mean, but there was like a reason behind it for being mean.
Yeah, and you were just like, oh yeah.
Yeah. I had to accept it. There was no other way around.
So we started calling her Buzz because she basically, and I didn't come up with it.
Well, it was King Buzzard.
Right, it was King Buzzard. It's just easier to call her
It might be worse.
But I guess the explanation from the boys was you were King Buzzard because you kind of buzzed around to everyone in the group or various groups. Yeah. For better or worse, you know. And then you became, well, a verb came out of it when a guy started to like you or started to be swayed by your charms. We would say that they were buzzed. Yeah. And so
then it just became Buzz.
Yeah, and now you're onomatopoeia.
Yeah. Well, and the thing is every time I hang out with you guys, your friend group, anytime I meet someone new, this is Buzz.
Right,
it's never Natalie. Ever. No.
Yeah. And someone gets buzzed.
It just happens. You're making me sound like this old womanizer. No. Mind you, that was 3 years ago.
No. A womanizer, you would be buzzing women.
That's so true.
You're a manonizer.
I'm a manonizer.
Which isn't all that bad, but No, I don't think you're a manonizer. I think you have the dark gift.
Oh.
Have you heard this term?
I have never heard this term. I'm intrigued.
Okay. So the dark gift is something I came up with. So it's not like you should have heard of it. But the dark gift is basically you have this innate ability to charm, sway, influence, whatever, right? Which that's the gift portion, right?
Okay.
But it can turn dark, and can turn and tons of people have this. Like most salesmen, most really like charismatic, charming people have the dark gift,
Sure.
right? But it becomes dark when it turns into manipulation or womanizing, manonizing.
Apparently I've done.
Right? I don't know your past or present. But yeah, so it's like you have this gift to influence people and this gift to instantly affect people, and you can use it for good or evil, right?
That's actually really cool. I'm taking that as a compliment.
No,
so I'm going to say thank you.
Yeah, it's meant to be a compliment.
Yeah, well, thank you.
And like I said, I don't know you well enough to know if you've abused your powers.
But
I'm sure you have at times.
used and abused.
We've all abused it, right?
True.
But yeah, I think King Buzzard was initially definitely an insult and a slight.
100%, because I didn't find out about it till weeks had passed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've just been buzzing around.
I had no idea that this was what you guys were saying behind my back.
Right. But yeah, it's a moniker that fits in a good way.
It does. Now my bio on my Instagram is just Buzz.
Right. Yeah, in my phone, you're Buzz. So
happens.
Do you have like family or anybody that started calling you Buzz ever, or just kind of that little group?
It's that group, and then like it's kind of branched off now to like people that like you guys know and meet.
Okay, yeah.
And so then like randomly people be like, "Hey Buzz," and I'm like,
Right.
"What?
Yeah.
Like, why do you know that?"
Right. Yeah, and you forget that you're also Buzz.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm like, "Who are you talking to?"
Yeah.
Looking over my shoulder. I'm like,
I get that way sometimes because I have very different friend groups where nobody calls me by my first name. You know, people just call me Church, and then I have friend groups where everyone just calls me Taylor. So sometimes I'll like hear Taylor and I'm like, what do you mean? Or
who are you talking to?
what do you mean Taylor? But
I honestly like think I forget that your first name's Taylor.
Right. Yeah.
I only call you Church.
Right, and I like it, but it's also like I would never introduce myself as, "Hey, I'm Church."
Yeah.
But I'm a big nickname guy. Are you a big nickname guy?
I love nicknames. I have some weird ones.
Do you like when people are like, "Hey, Natty Cakes" or Nat King Cole?
Yeah, any of those. Love those two.
Yeah.
Specifically.
Right. Are there any other little ones you like a lot?
I don't really care.
Yeah.
Like, people call me whatever you want, kind of.
Yeah. But do you
Buzz.
have some friends that call you stuff you like?
I feel like most people just call me Nat.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like that's like the common denominator. But like, I have one friend that calls me Natty Cat. We've been friends since like sophomore year of high school, and that's like all she calls me.
Nice.
My cousins call me Noodles.
Okay.
Kind of weird.
Big ramen fan, or
yeah, no. I think it's
you
just
kind of
because
flail about like a noodle.
Maybe that's what it is.
I
I've
could
never
see you
known.
flailing.
I tend to flail.
Yeah.
I've been known to.
Right. Both emotional.
Yeah.
And
Basically, all the flailing you can do, I do it. I don't honestly know where that came from. Weirder one. My family calls me Panchley.
Panchley?
Yeah.
It's not my favorite. What does that mean?
Mostly it's Panch.
Panch?
Yeah, which might not be better than Panchley. My brother called me it one day, and it just stuck. It was like a one-time thing. He was like, "Hey, Panchley."
Panchley.
Out of nowhere.
Okay.
And it just stuck.
And he doesn't have an explanation?
No.
Okay.
Well, I mean, his explanation is he says, like, he comes up with weird names. I think it just runs in the family, though, because my mom does, too.
Okay.
My mom calls all of us kids very interesting names.
I like that, though.
So Panchley just kind of stuck.
Yeah. Me and my roommate and a few of our friends, we will often call each other just names we just thought of. But they're always just it's like any male name that is like a little bit creative. And so like, I came home the other day and my buddy's like, "Hey Duncan, what are you doing?" And I've never been known.
Never been called that.
I never have gone by Duncan for any reason, and then I'll just respond like, "Oh, Kevin, I'm just getting home. What are you doing?" It's like
it's kind of weird.
Yeah, it's kind of weird, but we never do it like when we're like have been in the room for a long time together and we're talking. And I'm like, "Hey," his name's Matt. And I'm like, "Hey Matt, pass me the remote." But it's like the first time we see each other during the day,
okay,
or when somebody gets home,
throw it out there.
it's like, "Hey Darren, is that you?" It's like, well, I'm not Darren, but it is me.
You're on the right track.
Yeah, I don't know why it's been so enjoyable for us.
No, that's kind of fun, honestly. Mix those things up.
Yeah, and it's like we know each other's names.
Yeah.
So
well, you hope. You live together.
It can get confusing though. We were talking about this before we started our micro episode that is growing before our very eyes.
It's grown.
But we met in a parking lot. Do you recall the moment?
Pause for dramatic effect. Only because I do not.
Okay.
I remember like the day in and of itself.
Yeah.
Like I remember the spike ball thing.
Yeah. It actually wasn't the day we played spike ball.
What?
So we met in this parking lot, and there was
sounds
like
weird.
Well, there was things going on. I didn't just like get your number on Craigslist and say, "Hey, do you want?"
I am putting on my ads on Craigslist a lot, so.
And I'll leave your number in the.
Yeah, as you. I was gonna ask if you could. Yeah.
We met in a parking lot. I don't remember what was going on. I think there was like, I don't know, fire or some people were eating food or something, and there were like my friend group and your friend group, and we started to merge.
Okay.
Right. But then it was like somebody was like, "Hey, we're playing spike ball tomorrow," and then someone was like, "Hey, come meet this girl Natalie," and we started talking about it. It's not.
It's not right. It's not coming up.
Okay. That's
my
fine.
recall's not.
Okay. What
now
do you?
I feel bad.
That's fine.
All right.
Do you have a recollection of when you feel like we first met?
I think it was because, I remember when we went to spike ball and we did that, and I remember already knowing you.
Okay, yeah. So that couldn't have been the first time.
It couldn't have been the first time we'd met.
Yeah.
But I just obviously we didn't know each other that well.
Yeah.
So I don't, I for some reason can't place the first time we met. But I think like spike ball, that definitely was the first time we because we played on the same team.
Yeah. Okay.
So I totally remember that, but the first time, I thought that was the first time.
But you knew.
But I also know that I knew you.
That's a brain teaser.
So that is,
Okay.
Figure that one out.
Do you, what were your first impressions of me, if you remember?
Well, we were playing spike ball, so all I remember being was like, because Spencer, mutual friend, everyone.
Right. He's been on here as well.
He's been known to participate.
Yeah.
I remember him telling me something about you being like a really big spike ball player, and I was like, oh my gosh, I want to play with him because I'm not good at spike ball.
Right.
So I knew you could carry our team.
Right.
And I think like my first impression was literally like, wow, he's really good at spike ball. Like I honestly think that was like my genuine first impression was like, holy crap, he's so good at this.
Right.
And then I remember we just like laughed a lot.
Yeah.
And that's why I feel like we didn't hang out a ton, but I feel like because we can laugh a lot together and we both joke back and forth and kind of banter off each other, I feel like that has like made our friendship like last. So like I don't see you for months. Yeah. And then I see you and I'm like, oh, church, what's up? And like we right back on it. And so I feel like that was probably my first impression was like, oh wow, he's really fun. I get along good with him.
Yeah, we're laughing.
Yeah, we're chuckling.
Yeah. And like you said, and we don't have to get super into it, but you said when we first met and we're hanging out a little bit, you said that was like the worst part of your life, or not the worst part of your life, but like one of the harder parts of your life.
Yeah, that.
What were you going through? It
was like because we met like summer, didn't we? Or like beginning of summer, like May, probably around that time. I guess I could look it up. I have all the videos.
Sure.
Spike ball. Well, I had come off like a recent breakup, mind you, 3 years ago.
Yeah.
So sorry, I just hit the cord on the table.
That's part of it.
And so I had kind of come off a recent breakup, which I know everyone's like, oh, breakups aren't that hard.
Who says that?
A lot of people I know. But it was,
I don't want to use coarse language, but that's just not the case.
That was harsh.
Right. Well,
take it back, what the heck?
I don't want to get jazzed up over here, but that's not the case.
So, I mean, we hadn't even dated that long, like 6 months.
But that's also
a
long
amount of
time.
Yeah, it is. It's a good chunk of time.
Yeah.
And I was, like, very in love with this kid.
Yeah.
And so, like, that mixed with, like, my little sister had been going through, like, some hard things, and I was trying to help her with that, and then I had recently kind of come off of a mission and trying to find, like, purpose that way, and because, you know, like, on a mission you have a purpose, and then when you're not anymore, I just kind of felt, like, lost, and then that, I'm pretty prone to depression. I know that kind of sounds like trying to fit in with, like, I know a lot of people nowadays are like, oh, I'm depressed or anxious or whatever, but, like, just kind of, like, in my family, and so I'm pretty prone to that and anxiety, and I think I just, like, I had so many responsibilities and so much going on, and my family really leaned on me, and my little sister especially, and I felt like I was, like, having to be, like, this big supporter when I was, like, broken. So it was like I was expending and giving out a ton and not really receiving a lot back, because I'm really good at, like, putting on a front. So no one really knew that I was struggling. And so I was kind of coming off on that. I had gone to therapy. Oh, can't talk. Therapy. I'd gone to therapy.
I like that better.
Therapy. For a couple of months, and, like, that had helped a ton, and having someone to talk to. Do you still go to therapy? I don't anymore, but I really think I should. I think everyone should.
Yeah, no, I agree.
I really think it's I loved it. And it was really good to be able to talk to someone who was very, like, unbiased to my situation. And really, I mean, like, yes, he cared about me, but also he didn't at the same time, which sounds bad.
No, it makes sense, because, like, you get sometimes, like, you know, your default when you're going through stuff is you go to your friends or your family, right? Totally. And it's like they just care about you so much that they can't really see outside of your situation, right? They just want you to succeed, and so whoever you're talking about, they're trash. And 100%. And you're the hero.
You know? Every time.
And that's great when you are the hero. But sometimes you're the villain.
Totally. And so it's nice to have someone to be able to kind of call you out and then also support you. Like, we would talk about things, and he'd be like, you know what? Why don't we look at it this way? Because I would blame, you know, was in the blame game of, like, it's everyone else's fault. The reason that I'm in pain is because of A, B, C, D, but nothing to do with me. And he was like, well, you know, let's analyze this situation that's going on, and kind of we would do, like, a deep dive into it. And when we'd be done with our session, I'd be like, oh, okay, that's, like, 90% on me, 10% someone else. So then I, like, all of a sudden got all this, like, power back. Because instead of just blaming everyone else for everything that was happening to me, I started to take, like, ownership of my life more. And I think that's where, like, my depression and my anxiety stems from, is because I have so many, like, arms extended outward. So I'm, like, giving a lot to people, but then also because I'm so extended outward, I feel like when bad things happen, it was like, oh, well, that's because of this person, or that's because of this person, or whatever it may be. But then the more I, like, was able to, like, be more, like, introspective, I realized that, okay, you know what, a lot of my problems are because I'm actually creating them. And so when I kind of did that, I feel like I took ownership of, like I said before, but, like, my life and my decisions.
Was that really hard to accept initially?
Oh, yeah. I did not want to come to terms with the fact that I was the problem.
Right, that's
no one does. No one does,
How do you arrive at that conclusion? Like, obviously, you know, help from your therapist and stuff, but how do you, like, get that in? Because I feel like a lot of us kind of get that information from whatever source, or we think about it sometimes, but it's so easy to be like, no, I couldn't be the problem. You know, like, how could I, like, I'm doing my best, like, I'm the hero of the story, you know? So how can you kind of get over that and be like, and open your mind to the fact that you might be the problem?
Yeah, that's a good question.
I mean, it's easy to, like, be like, oh yeah, doing heroin or I'm
Yeah.
murdering people, so I'm the problem.
I'm Ted Bundy, so I have a little issue.
If Ted Bundy's blaming people for his problems.
I think a lot of it was just like, I think now, well, with social media and like all these things, you see a lot of outwardness of people and you see what they want you to see.
Yeah.
You never really see like into someone's life ever because no one wants you to see the hard parts and no one wants to like really accept their weaknesses. I think that's like a very hard thing because everyone else looks like they don't have any.
Yeah.
So I can't accept mine because I'm the only person with weakness.
Right. And even when people like post about their weaknesses, they do it in a way that's like, be proud of me because I'm being vulnerable and I'm showing my weaknesses.
100%. Which
which
isn't
great.
Inherently bad. Yeah, no, it's not. And I think being vulnerable is awesome.
Yeah.
But I think there's a difference between being vulnerable with like people and the world and media and being vulnerable with yourself.
Totally.
Because it's a lot harder to sit with yourself and be vulnerable and recognize your weaknesses than it is to like chat with someone about it, because everyone's gonna kind of just be like, yeah, but you're awesome, you're great, you have this, and this. Like, who cares if this is your weakness? Me not being able to think of any weaknesses right now, but like, who cares if you're struggling with like, I don't know, let's just say depression, whatever. Yeah. And like, not that depression's a weakness. Yeah. I don't want to come across that because
but that's your struggle in the moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like, whatever, I feel like everyone has different struggles, obviously. So like, whatever your struggle may be, I think sometimes it's like you like put a portion of it out to the world, but not all of it. And I don't necessarily think that everyone should put everything out there. Sure. I think a lot of it needs to be, sorry, I tapped my ring on the table. But for me to like really be able to like accept it, I had to come to terms with my weaknesses. And I had to come to terms with like the fact that it was okay to have weaknesses and to not be this perfect individual that I even portrayed on my Instagram or I don't use Facebook, so I can't think of any other platforms. But MySpace. Even just Kick, even just to like my friends and family, I think I wasn't willing to be vulnerable with them. Yeah. And so I kind of just, I remember one day I kind of just wrote down. I mean, it was an exercise from my therapist, and he told me to kind of write down some of my weaknesses. And so
you're like, easy,
I was like,
have any.
0. Thank you. I'm done. I gave him a blank sheet of paper.
Yeah.
Said,
sometimes I finish sentences too quick.
I'm.
That
would have been a good thing to say. No, so I remember I went home, wrote in my journal, and I just listed everything. And like, I think some of them weren't even weaknesses that I was writing anymore. I think it was just things that like maybe like bugged me about myself. I was like, oh, my hair is not the right color of brown. Like
weak.
Yeah, like no, or it just like I'm not like the dumbest things I would start writing, and as I did that, I realized I was like, oh my gosh, I am so hard on myself, because some of these things don't matter at all. Yeah. But then I was like, but then on another hand, wow, I have a lot I can work on. Yeah. And when I realized like, oh my gosh, I have all of this I can work on, I need to stop, blaming everyone else for my mistakes. Because when I wrote them down, I was like, yeah, that, this thing happened because I made this mistake, not because this person made a mistake. Yeah. And so I think when I realized my weaknesses and was able to accept them, as not as they're bad, I don't think weaknesses are bad. I think weaknesses are part of life. Sure. And so, but when I was able to be like, okay, that's okay. It's fine that I'm not the strongest person ever. It's fine that I can't support everyone. It's fine that like not everyone can lean on me all the time. Like sometimes I'm allowed to be weak. And when I realized that, I feel like that's when it was kind of like a breakthrough, and I was like, holy crap. Yeah. Like I can take control of the situation. Yeah. And I don't have to just be like this like puddle on the floor that is manipulated by whoever walks through it. Yeah. It was all of a sudden I was like, okay, hold on. Yeah. And then that's when I started to kind of like pick and choose my relationships, and not to be rude and be like, oh, I don't want to be with you or hang out with you. It was just like, you are not helping me to grow. Yeah. And so it wasn't like I would cut people off, but it was like I would just kind of start to spend less time with people and start to focus on the good things in my life or happy. And my brother said, he gave me really good advice, and he was like, just only surround yourself with good. Right. Whatever that is, music, service, friends, everything, just kind of be good. And then once I started to do that, that's when I started to meet like friends that I still have today, and like really good people in my life, and like you included. Like that's when I started hanging out with your friend group, who was an amazing like group for me to be in, and a kind of a turnaround point, because I wasn't hanging out with, I don't want to say bad people, but the best people.
Sure.
And the boy that I was dating wasn't the best person for me. And so I don't know, it's just a lot of like introspection and really just like kind of turning inward, being selfish for a little bit is what I really think has helped me now to be very selfless.
Okay, yeah, nice. When you, because I feel like a lot of people that know you would have a really tough time like imagining you with depression, right?
True.
And I get it, because I'm similar in ways where I'm pretty extroverted. I hang out with a lot of different groups of people. And I like just by definition being extrovert, I just like being around people, right?
Yeah,
that's where I derive energy and joy a lot of times. But I still have my dark moments. And I think I've been lucky to never have really clinical depression, but I have my bouts with the blues.
Sure.
Like all of us. But I wonder for you, how does depression manifest itself for you specifically? Is it just like dark thoughts when you're by yourself? Is it like an inclination to self-isolate, or what is it?
For me, it's more just lack of motivation for anything.
Yeah.
Like when I was in my like darkest moment, I was in school at the time, and I just, not even just school, just like anything. Like I just wouldn't do anything.
Yeah.
It was lack of motivation to the point of like even eating. Yeah. Like it wasn't like me trying to starve myself. It was like I just had no motivation to eat or drink or wake up at all. Yeah. So that's kind of what mine is. And so when I feel myself kind of slipping into that, you know, you just have to, I think finding out what it is that manifests itself in you is really important with depression, because like, I mean, I wouldn't necessarily, I don't know if I have clinical depression. Sure. I mean, I'm not on medication. I never have been. It wasn't right for me. Yeah. But for me, a lot of it is like being able to acknowledge things. And so when I'm like, okay, there's that lack of motivation starting to come in, and a lot of it happens, I think mine's more seasonal. Right. As, winter comes on, I feel myself starting to get like a little less motivated, hibernation mode.
A little less sunny.
Yep, a little less sunny.
Yeah.
But I think that is also maybe why people wouldn't say or wouldn't think that I would have it, because it's not necessarily me being like sad or like you can tell on my face like, oh my gosh, she's like unhappy. It's just like behind closed doors, nothing's going on. Yeah. It's like an empty room, and I'm just like sitting in it. Yeah. And so it's like, if my friends pulled me out to like, let's go to a party or hang out with people, once I'm there, I'm like, okay, happy face, because I don't want anyone to know. Right. And so I think that's probably why people be like, oh, there's no way she would ever suffer with that, because I'm pretty good at being like, you're never going to know I suffer with that.
Yeah. Do you feel like there's, I mean, we all have them, but do you feel like you have pretty obvious like emotional triggers that kind of will send you spiraling down?
I think a lot of, not a ton. I mean, once again, therapy. Yeah. He has helped me a lot with like, we call it putting out the small fires. So whenever something like kind of triggers me, like with depression, I just feel like it's kind of my own thing. Yeah. Like I start to just have
negative thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, in everything, I feel like anxiety, depression, not any mental illness, but a lot of mental illnesses stem from negative thoughts. Sure. Because the more negative you are and the more negative energies you put out, like that's what's going to come back to you. I'm like a big believer in, I wouldn't say like energies. I don't believe in like crystals. Yeah. I mean,
you have a lot of rings. You have a lot of rings.
You have a lot of rings on. Yeah. But I think like whatever you put out, you get back. So the more negative I am, the more negative energy I just get back. And then the worst things are.
It's almost a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Oh yeah, totally.
You talk about how like sad you are. It's hard to be happy. Yeah. Like not that it's that easy to be like, I'm happy.
Oh yeah, no.
But But yeah, like if you're just putting out positivity, you know, you can still be attacked by the dark clouds, but it's much harder.
For sure, totally. I think choice, like, I've just learned a lot, and I've been blessed to be able to like really be in control of my thoughts. Obviously you slip up and you have times where you're not in control of them because you know, random thoughts just pop into your head, but like I think choice for me is like what I've learned over the years is like that's the biggest thing in life. Like I heard a quote, it's actually from another podcast I listened to. I couldn't tell you who the podcast is or who's speaking on it, but I listen to it a lot. And he has like, I'm a big spiritual person, and he said the most spiritual thing you can do is to choose. And that, like, I don't know, that quote is kind of just stuck with me, and how in life too, like even though maybe someone's not religious, you know, everything has like a spirit and an energy, or if you believe in energies, then they have that, or chakras, or whatever you want to believe in. But there is something that stems from it. And like for me, it's just more of a spiritual side. And so it's like whatever choice you make is either going to get you closer to happy, light, those kind of energies, or darkness. So it's like the most spiritual thing you can do is to choose. And so all life is a choice. Whatever you want to choose is what you're going to get back. And sometimes I think people make our choices for us, you know, and those are kind of in their own category, I think. But for the most part, you know, everything we do is because we chose to do it. It's like all the consequences that come back to us, whether they're good or bad, is because we chose. And I think nowadays people are like, oh, that happened just because it happened. I'm like, no, you could probably look back in your life and see, you know, oh, I made this choice, which led me to where I am today.
I mean, sometimes you'll just, like, a bird will poop on your head. It's like it's not because you snoozed too much in the morning.
Totally.
You know, not everything's super connected and correlated, but I agree. I think, you put out good things are just going to boomerang back.
100%.
Okay, let's skip this current section we're on, and I wanted to ask a little bit about dating, just because I'm always curious to get inside of the woman's head and try to understand, because even though, like, I date women, so I feel like I kind of understand their experience, sometimes I'm like, I have no idea what you guys are thinking or going through. All I know is like your actions, you know, which are just as confusing. But
me too.
But I wanted to ask if you struggle with, do you know what a paradox of choice is?
Something I should know. Sounds like I should know that. But
so a paradox.
Give a definition for people who are listening that don't know.
For the peons that don't understand.
I for sure do.
So paradox of choice is like, the more options you have, the more choices you have, the more difficult it is to make a decision. And so if somebody is like, hey, do you want to go to McDonald's or Burger King? It's fairly easy to make a choice. But if somebody's like, do you want to go to McDonald's or Burger King or Wendy's or Chick-fil-A or whatever, and they name 15, you're like, I don't know. Right? So for you, who is empirically a non-ugly,
it's a good way to say it.
Right. And I think it's safe to say, you don't have to respond, but it's safe to say you have a decent amount of options out there, whether you want them or not. They're there. I'll just tell you. And this is the same with a lot of attractive girls that are also, you know, intelligent and ambitious, spiritual, have a lot going for them. They have a lot of options, like more so than like the analog of a guy that's good looking and has a lot of things. It's just the way it is. So do you find that difficult? Just like, you know, at any given time there's probably a lot of guys that would be down to date you, be down to go out with you, and it's almost like, okay, it's just up to me then. Is that something you struggle with?
I feel like at times, I think it goes in waves. Because sometimes I'm like, oh, like I'm getting asked out on a lot of dates, but I feel like more often than not, I'm not, but people think that I am.
Yeah.
And so then boys are like, oh, I'm not going to ask her on a date because she's going on dates.
Yeah.
When in reality, I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going on that many dates.
Right.
But I also think, not to say that I'm old, I'm only 24, but when I was younger, I think it was a lot harder for me because I was still very unsure of like what I looked for in someone, and I was just like, oh, whoever's cool or who's like, you know, in the forefront of the, you know, Provo, Orem, Vineyard, whatever scene. Yeah. And so I was like, oh, well, I need to like this person because everyone likes that person. I need to not like this person because no one likes that person.
Yeah.
Regardless if I was interested or not, it was kind of like, I just was kind of like following.
Yeah, you didn't really know what you liked yet.
Probably. I mean, when I'm 20, 21, I just feel like I didn't really, at least for me, there are people who figure it out and great for them. But like, at least for me, I was very much like, still kind of just like, oh, I want to party and not, you know, have anything serious and do whatever I want kind of a thing. And I think then I was a lot more like overwhelmed because it was like, oh my gosh, I don't know what I want. And then there's these people asking me on dates and then they're like expressing that they have feelings for me. And I'm like, well, I kind of have feelings for you, but I also have feelings for 4 other people. So I don't really know how to go about that. But I think now as have gotten older and dated a lot more people, I think it's more like, I'm like, okay, I know what I want in someone. I know what I look for. And so that's kind of helped me to narrow it down. Still, there are times when, you know, I'm going on dates with like a couple people and I'm like, okay, there's interest in a couple people and I kind of have to figure out, you know, who I like more than the other one. So I think when I was younger, a lot harder for me to choose. But I think now, I think it's just, I know what I look for. And if someone doesn't meet those standards, as harsh as this says, or what? As harsh as this is.
As harsh as this is.
I just kind of kick them to the curb. I'm like, you know what? Thanks for taking me on a date. Not interested. Right. And not because they're a bad person or because I think they're, you know, there's nothing like that. It's just like, I just know that I have these things that I want and we're just not going to be on the same page. And I'm saving, you know, both of us heartache in the end, regardless if we could have liked each other. I know what I'm looking for someone that I want to be with for the rest of my life.
Right. And sometimes it's hard. I've struggled with this a lot where it's really easy to like waste time with somebody that you like but you don't love.
Oh yeah.
You know, or you like really like and could maybe love, but it's probably a stretch. Like, you probably aren't that compatible, or there's maybe some little deal breakers that you're kind of pushed under the rug or whatever. But it's just so comfortable and easy.
Yeah.
That's one of the things that's been hardest in dating for me. Is just like finding that balance between giving a person a chance, because sometimes, like, if you have a lot of dating experience, you probably have somebody in your past that's kind of just blown you away. They've, you know, swept you off your feet, and it was just like magic from the get-go. And so sometimes you're like, you go out a couple times and you're like, yeah, they're great, but I mean, I'm not in love.
Yeah.
And it's silly because you kind of have to give people the benefit of the doubt and let them show you who they really are, right? But sometimes you do that too long, you know.
Totally.
You do it for months and months and months because it's just easy and it's comfy, and then it becomes, well, yeah, I doubt I'll end up with this person, but gosh, I don't want to break up with them.
Oh yeah.
That also sounds terrible, right?
Oh yeah, for sure. I think that's like so common for people to do. I mean, I've done it multiple times where I'm like, and a lot of it is I'm like, oh, I have fun with them. And because I have fun with someone, I just want to hang out with them all the time because we enjoy each other's company, kind of what you were saying. But it's like, but they also don't have A, B, C, and D qualities that I need and I know I need for myself. And then you get to a point you're like, oh crud, I really like this person, but I also need to break up with you. And then it's just gonna suck even more. But then I feel like there's also like points where, you know, if on the first date it's not sparks flying and you're like not in love on the first date, because I think everyone's had those first dates, regardless if it's like reciprocal or not. You go on a first date and you're like, that was an amazing first date. I am in love with this person. Quotes around in love. But I think sometimes dating in the place we live, can't speak for anywhere outside, but where we live, it's like very much, if you don't feel that on the first date, you're like, well, not going to go on a second.
Yeah.
And then people miss out on these awesome girls and guys because they're looking for this, like, picture perfect girl or picture perfect boy that in reality doesn't exist.
Yeah.
But they think they do.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, I do it sometimes. I go on a date with someone, I'm like, yeah, it was good, but like,
it didn't floor me.
Yeah, exactly. And so then I'm like, well, I don't know if I want to go on a second date with him.
Yeah.
But then I'm like, but if I go on a second date with him, maybe he'll be more comfortable. And then maybe it will be the person that I'm supposed to spend my life with, you know? But then there are times I'm like, but I don't know if I want to
go
through that. Yeah.
And yeah, because it's easy to be like, well, he probably won't floor me.
Yeah, totally.
You know, he had his 20 minutes. He should have floored me.
So true.
He had one job.
He only had to impress me.
Yeah.
That's it.
And honestly, that's how I feel sometimes on dates. I'm like, I feel like I pick up a girl and she's like, okay, what do you got?
Oh, yeah.
You know, what do you got for me? And I'm like, frick, I'm like, kind of funny sometimes, depending on your sense of humor. I'm like, what do I got? Like, kind of tall, if that's important to you. I know it is to a lot of girls. But then you just gotta charm their face off, right?
No, literally.
And I personally, I know you probably operate a little differently, but I've always struggled with these like large co-ed friend groups because I just don't have any stomach for being in the friend zone, right? And a lot of guys, like, no guys love it, right? But a lot of guys will take the risk and they'll hang out with these beautiful girls in hopes that something will spark, right?
Yeah.
And I just don't have the stomach for it. Like,
I get that.
It's just too painful to like hope and like hope she comes around. It's different if like you hang out a few times as friends and then you're like, oh, I want to ask out this girl.
Yeah,
right?
totally.
But to just kind of like marinate in this friendship cesspool, oh gosh.
I'm with you on that.
But gosh, that just gave me the bad feelings.
Well, I think that's just it's hard because less and less boys, and like not saying that I can't ask people on dates,
Sure.
I totally can.
Yeah.
But I think less and less boys are asking on dates for that reason. Right. They're like, well, we'll just hang out.
Yeah.
And then if I like her, then we'll go on a date. And like that might work for some people, and if that does, awesome.
Yeah.
But then for some people like you, it's like, well, I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
Because then it's like you're inadvertently kind of competing with everyone else that you're with. And so, like, if you're in this massive group of, like, you know, some trips that I've been on, there's, like, 40 people, and it's, like, 20 guys, 20 girls, and then it's, like, everyone's trying to impress everyone, and then nothing happens, because everyone's trying to impress everyone, so we're all just, like, running in this, like, circle of, like, oh, I'm the coolest person, and so.
And I always joke about it, like I'm not going to take a girl I'm really interested in that I've hung out with, like, a couple times, I'm not going to take her to, like, meet 6 of my really good looking guy friends. Like I gotta chill first. Like, once she likes me, that's fine. Yeah, come meet my friends. But they're handsome men. I can't
risk it.
I can't be rolling the dice. You know, like, especially if like, yeah, we've hung out once or twice. It's like she's not committed to me.
Sure.
I'm not committed to her, and so it's just like, hey, let me take you to this buffet. See what you like.
Yeah, pick and choose.
Right. And so, yeah, it can be tricky because ideally I love to, you know, first couple times I hang out, do something chill where it's like, yeah, maybe in a small group, just so it doesn't feel like a really structured like date that can incite nervousness and different things. But then yeah, it's this balance of like, okay, I'm going to invite you to this group activity, but I don't want to just be your friend.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of like a date to this group activity, you know, but it's hard because this is all paraverbal. I'm not telling this girl like, hey, you want to come to this fire with me? There's going to be some other guys there, but like, I just want you to like talk to me for the most part.
But like stay by me the whole time.
Yeah. And feel free to be friendly and talk to other people, but this is a date.
Yeah.
You know, it's
hard.
Yeah.
Well, and I feel like the thing is, or a big thing for me is like communication. I think people are just too scared to talk to people.
Totally.
And everyone's like, oh, I don't want to DTR yet. And I'm like, well, you don't have to DTR.
Yeah.
You know, just like chat with them and be like, hey, I'm interested in you. I want to bring you to this activity, but like, I want you to know that like, I'm not bringing you here to like date or talk to anyone else. Like, I wanna.
Yeah. Oh, I'm a huge believer in, like, baby DTRs.
Yeah, oh yeah.
You know?
I think they're necessary.
Yeah, and just saying, like, listen, I'm not bringing this up because I need answers.
Yeah.
But I'm just bringing it up because this is how I feel, and it'd be great if you knew that.
Oh yeah.
You know?
Well, and everyone appreciates it.
Yeah.
Because, like, if you, I mean, say you're dating someone and then you say to them, like, hey, I really like you, just want you to know that.
Mm-hmm.
Then they know where you're at, and then also they can kind of gauge where they're at too. Because they can be like, well, I don't know if I'm there yet, but, like, I might be. Or, hey, you know what? This person's really interested in me. I don't think it's going to go anywhere. Let's cut it off now before more feelings get involved. Yeah. And so I feel like people just don't communicate enough because they're scared of, I think vulnerability is, like, the hardest thing for people. Yeah. So they're scared of, like, expressing their emotions and expressing what they're actually feeling because they don't want to be judged. Or girls, I know, I used to, now I don't care, but, like, I used to be like, oh, I can't express what I'm feeling because then I'm going to be crazy. Yeah, and then they're going to tell all their guy friends that, oh, Natalie's crazy because I expressed how I was feeling about them and we've only hung out for 3 weeks. You know, and it's like, I'm not crazy. I'm literally just telling you that I'm feeling this way so that way we're both just kind of on the same page. That way feelings don't get hurt because more times than not I've had my feelings hurt from boys and situations because I wasn't clear and they weren't clear. And then the second we talked about it, it was like, oh, makes sense. We were not on the same page. That's why feelings were hurt. Right. And so I just feel like everyone's just too scared to, like, I keep saying sorry.
It's a super useful word.
It is.
Yeah.
Everyone's just too scared to accept their own feelings, I think, sometimes. And it's scary. I mean, it is scary to tell someone that you like them, especially if you don't know how they feel. Right. But I also think that would save a lot of heartbreak in the end, and also would just make dating easier and more fun and enjoyable, because then you're not, like, guessing, oh, do they like me or do they not? Do I have to play the game? Should I text her back right away or should I wait 20 minutes? Can I call them right now or should I not call them? Yeah. Like, I just feel like it's all dumb, but...
I one time went on a date with this girl, and afterwards, like, we were having a really good time, and we might have even got some snuggles in.
We love snugs.
Who knows what happened? But at the end I said, what would you rate this date on Yelp? Like, if I had like a dating Yelp account, like, what would your review be? You know, I'm not looking for 4 or 5 stars, but what would your review be? And you know, she laughed, but I was like, I'm kind of serious. Like,
I actually want to know.
Like, not that I need this to proceed, but I would love to know, like, what you enjoyed about the night, or like whatever.
Healthy question.
So I think we should all be reviewing our dates.
I think so too.
On Yelp.
Someone needs to just make an app. Yeah. I guess Yelp is the app.
Right.
I don't know if you can rate people on it, but
yeah. I'm sure there's a section you can. But yeah, I've always thought, and it's not super, like, realistic, but I would love, like, at the end of every date, if it was just obligatory, like, okay, let's do this. Like, what did you think? You know?
Honestly,
and, like, nobody's
nice.
Yeah, like, 99% of people are gonna squirm and be like, oh, I don't know, but it would be great. I would love it.
I think so too. I think more people need to be bold.
Yeah.
I think that's what the generation we live in, I think they lack, is this, like, boldness, because they don't want to offend people, because nowadays it's so common to not want to offend someone because of an opinion or a thought you have. But I think if more people expressed what they were actually thinking, a lot less people would actually be offended.
For sure.
Because I'm more offended when someone doesn't tell me what they're thinking.
Right.
I'm like, why aren't you talking to me?
Yeah, it's like you didn't care enough to ask.
Yeah. You don't care about me enough to tell me exactly what you're thinking, and then you end up feeling used when you're dating someone, which I think everyone's felt.
Yeah,
Even if they weren't being used. You know, even if that person, like, at the beginning had genuine interest, but then they kind of lost interest. If you don't tell someone, hey, I'm losing interest, you don't have to phrase it exactly like that. But if they don't know, and they're just going about their day thinking they're in this, like, fun, happy, like, relationship, it just, I don't know, everyone's going to feel blindsided, and they're going to be more hurt than if, like, I'm way more hurt if someone doesn't tell me they're not into me than if someone is like, hey, you know what, like, I just don't see it going further. Yeah. Like, I might be like...
That's more like that, that stings, like, for, you know, a little bit for a second.
Yeah.
But you're like, okay, ultimately I'm glad he said that.
Totally.
Yeah.
Versus someone who just strings me along and then all of a sudden just stops talking to me.
Yeah.
Which I used to let people ghost me. Don't do that. I don't anymore. I'll literally text them.
Don't ghost Natalie.
I'm like, if you're I'll literally text them and be like, hey, I know you're trying to ghost me.
Yeah, I won't be ghosted.
We don't need to be ghosted. Like, just tell me that you're not feeling it anymore. Like, obviously, I can feel you pulling away.
Mm-hmm.
So let's just call it what it is. It was fun while it lasted.
Yeah.
Wish you the best. And then every time they're like, yeah, sorry. And it's just like, yeah, just buck up and say it. Yeah,
I'll often when I, like, and it's hard because there's ghosting, like, when you've been hanging out for a few weeks and you start to kind of fade. But then there's this, like, preemptive ghost where, like, you go out once, or even before you go out, you get a girl's number or something, and then she just goes, ghost. Yeah. Just goes dead. Right?
Radio silence.
Radio silence. And I'll throw out a text like, hey, did you run out of minutes? I'll ask a girl, like, has there been a fire in your home? Because these are excuses that I am okay with.
Yeah, like, 100%.
I get it. Your house is on fire.
Yeah, don't text me back.
You're not texting everyone back in a timely manner.
That's fine.
Did your entire family die? Again,
I mean,
get it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Right.
Any other excuse besides a fire and your entire family dying or minutes?
That's about it for me.
Yeah, not valid.
Everyone has a different
threshold
set of virtues, but that's just what I believe in. I actually I have a friend that he sends the most savage text out when he feels like a girl kind of ghosted him, and then she'll randomly come back at like weeks later, reemerge from the darkness. He will just say, yo, I lost interest.
Oh my gosh. She's not. I'm like, no, I was the one that lost interest first. Like, I didn't text you back.
But when he showed me that first text, because he does this from time to time.
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious.
When he showed me that first text, I was like, the most disrespectful part of this text is that you just said yo.
Yo. Yep. That would send me flying.
Oh gosh.
Yo.
Yeah. If any girls out there receive that text, I'm sorry, and I will not name who it is.
I might take that one for my
maybe
back pocket.
Yeah, if you're feeling disrespected,
I might.
Start a text with yo.
Yo, seriously.
Yeah, even if it's like a sibling you're fighting with, just send a text back, yo, I'm mad at you. Or, yo, don't come at me like that. Whatever it takes, start with yo. Especially if it's somebody that you would never say yo to.
Which I don't think I would really ever say yo to anyone.
Right, but if you're like, if it's like your bestie or something.
That's true, but even then she might be like,
Yeah, but like if you're like in a little dust up with your mom.
Oh yeah.
Say, yo, I'm not coming to dinner tonight. That's really disrespectful.
Yeah, that is really disrespectful. She would take that very hard.
Just something to think about, texting etiquette for the day. Okay, let me ask you, what do you think is something about you that a lot of people just get wrong? That like they don't, it's just a misconception about you.
Yeah, I mean, I think I look mean.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to swear on here, so I'm not gonna.
Feel free though if you need to.
Won't.
Okay, won't.
The whole resting.
Yeah. The RBF.
Yeah. I have that.
You suffer from it.
I do. It is, it's very hard. I've been trying to get over it. Can't seem to kick it.
Yeah.
And so I think that plays a role, but a lot of people, what I've heard from most people is, I thought you were mean before I met you.
Yeah.
Like, I thought you would be mean.
Right.
Which,
more from girls or from guys?
Both.
Yeah.
Yeah, people are like, I was intimidated by you. Like, some other day I was like, I was super intimidated before I met you. Like, I didn't think you were going to be nice. Yeah. Which I'm like, I don't know, like, what vibe I put off to make people, like, think that about me. Because I might not be the nicest person. No, I'm nice. But, like, maybe I'm not the nicest person in the world. I'm not Mother Teresa.
Yeah, that's tough.
Yeah, it's hard to live up to. But, like, I'm a nice person. I'm outgoing. I'm fun. Like, I'll talk to anyone about anything, and I can chat with anyone. Like, but most, like, that's the most common thing. If I ask, like, first impression, people are like, I thought you were mean. Right. And I'm like, what did I do? And they're like, okay, whoa. A little jumble in there.
Some soup in your mouth.
I did. Got a little choked up.
Yeah.
I don't even remember what I was saying. Oh yeah, someone said to my face, he was like, yeah, I thought you were super mean. Like, you just looked really mean. I was like, did you, like, hear anything about me? And he was like, no, I didn't hear anything. You just look mean.
Right.
And I was like, oh, okay, sorry. Like, I also don't know what I'm supposed to say to that.
Yeah.
You know, whoops.
Yeah, whoopsies.
Whoopsies. Yeah. Sorry, yo.
Yeah, yo, let me just
not mean.
Paste a smile on my face all the time.
I know, and so I think that's honestly probably people just think I'm mean, which I don't think I am. I mean, maybe you have a different opinion.
No, I would agree, and I didn't really like see you from afar and like not know you and be like, oh, I thought you were mean, because I just like met you instantly. And we were just instantly talking, and
totally
you weren't mean to me. So
yeah.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Right, but I can see, like, if I saw you at a party and you were just like eating chips and like
big chip eater.
Some guy was trying to hit on you and you just weren't having it. I could see me looking over and being like, I bet she's mean. Right, and not just because you're not having it with this guy, this jabroni that's trying to sweet talk you, but I could just, and honestly, I could see this with like almost any like really, really attractive girl that isn't like hyper super bubbly all the time.
Yeah.
Like, you have some bubbles in you.
Yeah.
But
they come up.
Yeah, but you're not like constant bubble fest.
Yeah. No.
Right? But it's like, I think guys especially, it's like, because if you're a guy that's tried at all, you've been rejected a million times. Right? Even like if you're awesome with the ladies, you do really well, you clean up, you still are rejected constantly. Yeah. You know? So the problem is, I think a lot of guys look at an attractive girl and they're like, she looks like somebody that would be mean to me. You know? Because they think in their head, like, I do this. I'll see a girl and I'll be like, I'd love to talk to her, like, get her number, but then I'll be like, you know what? She'll probably, like, not text me back, and then she finally will, and she'll be kind of mean. Or, like, we'll go out once, and she'll be kind of, like, standoffish or act not interested, and I just won't go talk to her. Like guys will do this all the time. They'll just spin this whole story in their head and talk themselves out of talking to a cute girl. And, call it, like, just general intimidation. Like, it's hard to talk to an attractive girl who's like dressed well and looks interesting. I don't know, right? But also it's easy to be like, oh gosh, I could see her just like I go up and say, hey, my name's Taylor, and she'll be like, okay.
You're like, yeah, see ya.
Okay, just wanted to tell you my name. I'll see you later.
Just want more people to know my name.
Right.
So.
But that's happened to me. I'll go up and talk to a girl, be like, hey, my name's Taylor, whatever, and they'll just be like, nice to meet you. And I'm like, cool, where are you from? Or I'll ask something else.
Carry the whole conversation.
Yeah, and I'll just be like, oh, I'm from here. And I'll be like, I'm going to just turn around and go tell my friends you were mean. You know? But sometimes literally the girl is not mean, but she is so sick and tired of being hit on. And it's hard for guys to understand that, because we would love to be hit on nonstop. It's all of our dreams, you know? Yeah.
See, but I think it kind of is a little bit both ways with the whole intimidation factor, because there are some ways that I'm like, you are so cute. Yeah. I will never speak to you. Right. I will look at you from across the room and that's about all you're going to get from me. Right. Wish you the best of luck in your life. But then in my mind, I'm like, I leave the party or whatever, and I'm like, why didn't I say something to them? Because I'm like, oh my gosh, they're so cute, and I'll never see them again. Right.
And it's so much easier for you because you don't need to go like hit on them. You just need to be like, hey, I like your shirt.
See, but the thing is, I do that sometimes, and people are like, they're like, thanks, and I'm like, are you okay? Like, you know, it's just like it's like kind of the same thing. It's like you go up to talk to someone and they're like, cool, thanks. Yeah. And you're like, yeah.
Never mind. Hate your shirt.
Yeah. Ugly shirt. Never wear it again. Yeah. Bye. See ya. Yeah. My name is Natalie, by the way. In case you want to follow me on Instagram, and then DM me, and then we can hang out. Yeah. I'm scared of you now. Yeah. But I think it totally is both ways. But I get that too. Yeah. Like I think I kind of understand why people think I look mean. Mm-hmm. But I feel like when people come up and talk to me, I try and be very much like, yeah, hey, what's up? Let's chat. Yeah. I'll tell you everything. What do you want to know?
These big eyes too, these scary eyes. Gosh.
I gotta figure out how to get them smaller.
Well, squinting works, but...
Okay, I'll just squint all the time.
Yeah, but, yeah, they're these big old, like, It feels like at any moment you could cast a spell. And I don't mean that you look like a witch, but I do mean that I'm worried
that I might be one.
If there's like, I don't know, if there's like if I saw you next to like a cauldron or something, or like there's a lot of candles lit, I'd start
get a little nervous.
Yeah, not super nervous.
Well, I do tend to carry like a Ouija board all the time, so maybe that's another reason people are intimidated.
It doesn't surprise me. It's just like with eyes that big, it's like, what are you seeing? You know,
way too much.
Right.
Overstimulated.
Yeah, not only are you seeing way too much, but you're just peering into my soul. And I'd like you to not do that.
That's why I tend to look at people's shoulders when they talk to me. Just constantly. They're like, where are you?
Do I have a smudge?
A little chip there.
A little schmutz on your shirt. Yeah, so it could be the big eyes, could be the RBF.
Could be a number of things.
Could be the Doc Martens.
Could be those. Those are those intimidate me. When I look at my feet, I'm like, oh.
Yeah, easy to talk to a girl in like a cheap flip-flop. You know? Maybe
a slip-on or something.
Boot.
Yeah. Those are nice.
Although it's not if you're wearing a cowboy boot, I probably
wouldn't speak to me.
Yeah.
That might be a good way to have people not speak to you.
Yeah, wear a cowboy boot.
PSA, women, wear cowboy boots.
Yeah, unless you're in the following counties. No, that's not important. Okay, we'll wrap this up, but let me ask you, what do you think is the number one thing right now that you are trying to improve about yourself? The number one thing. And maybe you don't have one right on deck, but what do you think? Besides the like kind of large eyes.
But yeah, I mean that's always an improvement I'm trying to make.
Yeah.
I think one thing that I want to be better at, I mean among thousands.
Sure, a never-ending sea of weaknesses.
There are so many, but is I think trying to discern people and their thoughts. I mean, not discern people, but like be more intuitive, more in touch with like how people are feeling. Because I feel like sometimes, I mean, we all have a lot going on in our lives, and for me, like my brain, there's 5,000 things constantly going across like the screen. Like I always have things, and so sometimes I can get kind of wrapped up in my brain, and I can lose sight of people in front of me. And so I think being able to just see someone and discern and be like, hey, you look sad. Let's talk to you. Even if it's a random person at a party. You know, just being able to like look at someone and read people's demeanor, because I think more people feel alone than we think.
Oh, absolutely.
And if I can be even slight of like the angel, you know, whatever.
Well, it's using kind of that dark gift to not be dark. You know,
exactly.
Make it that light gift.
Yeah, just make people feel loved and accepted and happy, because I've felt the opposite of those things way too many times. And
some people will, as much as they want to, they'll never have your like natural ability to just like easily go talk to somebody and easily start a conversation, you know?
Yeah.
And you take it for granted because it's such just a part of your personality. But it's like a lot of people could never do that.
Yeah. And I mean, to like stress that a little bit too, it's totally something I had to work on.
Right.
Like I mean, as a kid, I think my parents would say that I wasn't super shy, but I don't know if I would say I was super outgoing.
Yeah.
Like I don't think, I mean, when I know someone, when I was growing up, when I knew someone, I was like totally 100% myself. But it's been like definitely a process of figuring out, and I think what comes down to is I just don't care what people think about me.
Yeah.
Like, it's not even in my mind if people are watching me. What are they?
Oh, whoops. that's all the time we have, ladies and gentlemen. That's funny. I forgot to delete that. We'll just let that finish up here in a second.
I literally jumped so bad.
Yeah, that's the key that you're getting a little too chatty.
Sorry, that's a weakness I have. That is me.
Oh gosh, okay.
It's kind of a nice intermission.
Right. You're halfway done. Okay, sorry.
No, you're good. yeah, I just feel like it's something that I totally had to work for, because I wanted to not care what people thought of me, because at one point in my life, that's all I cared about.
Yeah.
Is what I presented on the outside, and through many different things. And I mean, I don't know if I can drop this on here, but through my patriarchal blessing,
you can drop anything.
All right.
Yeah.
I really kind of understood who I am, like at the core, like at my center, taking out my weaknesses, even my strengths. Like I just kind of dropped everything and wanted to know like who I am inside.
Yeah.
And once I mean, it took a while, and it took a lot of like meditation and being alone and turning my phone off, and a lot of, just because I wanted to just be connected to me and not what I thought I should be or what people thought I was, but actually who I was. Yeah. And when I like finally captured that, and a lot of it was through prayer and through reading the Bible and the Book of Mormon and a bunch of other things, and really coming to terms with like who I am in God's eyes and how much love he has for me. And if a God loves me so much, then why shouldn't I love me so much?
Right.
And so when I finally like figured that out, it was like this door swung open, and I was like, stepped into my own. And I was just like, oh my gosh, I am great how I am. I have these weaknesses, I'll work on them. Have these strengths, I'll build on them.
Yeah.
But I am me, and that is enough, because it's enough for God, so it's enough for everyone else.
Yeah.
And so once I figured that out, I was like, I don't care.
Right.
If I'm at a party and I'm literally the only one dancing, and everyone's like looking at me and they're like, oh, what is this weird 24-year-old doing at a party? Like, it's just, I was just like, no, like, I'm enough how I am. And that has like changed my entire life, because now I don't seek for approval from anyone.
Right.
And I don't care what anyone says about me.
Yeah.
Like, if you want to say I'm mean because I look mean, that's totally on you. Get to know me.
But when you get to that stage, it also comes across to most people as, like, it manifests itself as confidence, right?
Yeah.
So people see that, and they're like, wow, like, she's dancing by herself, but, like, she doesn't care.
Yeah,
you
totally.
And it can be such a positive, because, yeah, the second you, like, so this is a good example. I went to this party last night. It was 2 girls had a birthday on the same day, and it was like, there was like 15 people there, right? It was just a little gathering.
Yeah.
And I only knew them. And so I really just went to say hi or whatever.
Yeah.
I went by myself, but I remember thinking like, man, had I come to this like 8 years ago, I would have been way more uncomfortable.
Oh yeah. Just
because like I would like talk to them, and then because I didn't know anybody else, I'd be like, oh, now I'm just kind of chilling. You know, once somebody else came up and talked to them, I was like, okay, now I just have the snacks here.
Yeah.
And a bunch of like people 10 years younger than me over there eating popcorn. and I remember thinking like, I'm so grateful that I'm so secure with myself right now that I don't even think about like, oh, I hope I don't look dumb like standing by the fridge, or like,
what do I do with my hands?
Yeah, like I've got this weird shirt that I shouldn't have worn. It's like kind of.
Do I have tacos? Am I sweating?
Yeah, it's like, and then like I meet somebody and I accidentally say something dumb.
Constant.
I try to be funny and they don't get it. Constant for me. Yeah. But I was just like, yeah, I'm just happy to be here.
Yeah, totally.
I'm grateful they have a little cheese platter.
Yeah.
And I'm happy to say hi. Right, happy to say hi to my friends and leave. But it took a while to get there.
Totally. And I think it does take work, because people fake it a lot. And it's fine. I mean, fake it till you make it. But sometimes when you fake it, it comes across as arrogance. Yeah. And then people are like, oh, I don't like them because they're so into themselves. Right. So there's definitely, I mean, confidence and arrogance, they kind of teeter. You can really teeter on, there is. And so I think when you actually are more secure in who you are, and you don't like have to walk into a room and be like, hey, what's up? Like, I'm here kind of a thing, because that I feel like is more arrogant. But confidence, like, you're like, yeah, I just came here by myself. I don't really care. Right. And I remember.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say it. I was at this party the other day, and this guy walked in, and he was very like loud and borderline obnoxious. Not to talk bad about him. Yeah. He was just a happy guy, which is totally fine. But
Just a lot.
It was almost like you could kind of tell he was insecure about walking into this party. So to fight that insecurity, he was very overly confident, borderline arrogance. Yeah. And I feel like a lot of people confuse the two. Because like you can walk into a party and not even make your presence known and be the most confident person in the room.
100%.
Versus someone who walks in and is like, I'm here, what's up, everyone look at me. Yeah. They're probably the most insecure person in the room. And so I think it's just like this battle, but once you just love yourself and you're like, I'm cool the way I am, and if people don't want to love me, they don't have to love me, and if people want to love me, they can.
And one of my favorite pastimes is pointing out insecure people.
I love that.
Not that I announce it to the whole group.
No, totally.
But I find it so interesting to be like, even in like an airport where it's more innocuous because they don't see you and you'll never see them again.
Yeah.
But it's like, you see somebody doing something and they're just not super comfortable.
Yeah.
I'm just like, insecure.
Totally.
And it's just funny. I actually had somebody ask me, it was a younger kid. This was a couple of years ago. He asked me, and he was being so serious and genuine. It sounded like a stupid question, but he was like, man, how are you? I just feel like you're so cool. How are you so cool? Right? Just like a 19-year-old kid, and I'm this older guy. And I was like, honestly, dude, I don't really know what that means, like what being cool means. Yeah. But I will tell you that maybe it comes across that way because I'm just very, very comfortable with who I am. Like, to a very high degree. Yeah. And that won't come off as cool to everyone, but because it's just not some people's cup of tea. Right? Sure. But for the most part, like, you can see when people are comfortable and confident, and that just comes off as cool. Mm-hmm. Like, it's not necessarily like, oh, those guys are more like, I don't know, those guys are like artsy fartsy, and I'm more of like a sports guy. Yeah. It doesn't matter. Like, they're cool because they're so confident in being artsy fartsy. Yeah, totally. In going, like, I love when people have like weird interests and weird hobbies, but they're not like embarrassed about it. Yeah. Oh yeah. They're just like, oh yeah, I play the saxophone. Like, I kill the saxophone. Oh yeah. But when someone's like, yeah, I don't know, like I kind of mess around with this instrument that I did in like the marching band in high school, and I don't know. I don't know. Yeah. I'm just like, okay, that's cool, man, but I wish you owned it. I wish you were just weird about it. Mm-hmm. Well, there's no reason not to be. Like, there's no reason not to just be like, yeah, this is what I do. It's cool. Like, I have weird hobbies. I pick weird things up, but just because I want to. But it's like, they're fun. I enjoy it. Well, why not? I mean, dude, I played professional spike ball, but it doesn't get any more weird and obscure than that. Well, the thing is, everyone's weird. Yeah. And everyone tries to be cooler than they actually are. I just feel like no one's cool. Yeah, nobody's cool. And so, but the people who, like, my favorite people in my life, and my favorite people I've ever met, have been the people that are just them. Yeah, yeah. They don't try and be anyone else ever. They're just who they are, unapologetically themselves all of the time. I'm like, I love you. Right. You're my favorite person I've ever met, and I literally met you 10 minutes ago. Right. And it's like, that's who I want to be. Yeah. Yeah, I love when people are like, I'll always say like if you did something that was just classic Natalie in my eyes, and I haven't known you enough to think anything classic. It's like, oh, she did that last time we hung out. Classic. But I love saying, like, that was so Natalie what you just did, Yeah. It's just, you're just so yourself, and it's so obvious. It's awesome. Yeah. Okay, let me ask you one final question. Okay. This is the big one. Let's hear it. If you could, if we just switch roles right now and you were the podcaster, oh no, not the podcastee, and you had one final question to ask me, one thing, what would you ask? That's a great question. Should have come prepared. No. What do you hope? This is gonna be deep. Okay, this is the first question that popped in my mind. Yeah. What do you hope to, like, what impact do you want to leave on the world? Like, what do you hope to leave behind? Like a legacy, so to speak. Sure, it could be anything. It could literally be like a painting, if you wanted to say, if you didn't want to get deep with it. I hope to buy a painting and leave it. Don't put that painting in my casket. I don't want it. I actually think about this a lot, and a lot of it, there's kind of different like sections of things or categories of things I want to leave behind, because obviously to me, like, the art I create is really important. So I want to continue to build on that and just be prolific, just write a ton of books, produce podcasts my whole life, just continue to make great art. Right? And I love what that can leave behind, because those things can last forever, right? And then there's, relationships mean a ton to me. And I always think about like, I've unfortunately had a few friends pass away, like, in their 20s or whatever. And I always think about, like, what was the last thing I said to them? Or, like, I'll go back into our texts and I'll be like, how much were we talking? Or what kind of things did I say to them?
Yeah.
And I always think, like, okay, not in a dark way, but I often think about my death, meaning, like, okay, if something crazy happened and I died tomorrow, like, what are my friends thinking about me? Are they like, of course, anyone's going to be sad when somebody dies, but it's like, what kind of effect did I have on their life emotionally? And, like, how much support did I offer? And how much, like, joy did I add to their life? And there's some people that you only have an opportunity to add a tiny bit of joy because you just meet them at a party one night, or you just are talking to them at 7-Eleven, and then you leave and you never see them again. But I'm always like, man, if I died tomorrow, like, obviously I know somebody would say something really nice at my eulogy, right? My family would be devastated. My best friends would be devastated. But what about the people that I've, like, had kind of small relationships with, like someone kind of like you, someone that I've known for a few years, hung out with a few times or something, but it's like, what do they think about when they think about me? Do they just think like, oh yeah, Taylor's like, he writes books and he plays spikeball and he's kind of tall and skinny and has long hair? Or do they think like, man, like, I don't know, we had this really good talk one night and he made me feel seen in the first time in a really long time. Like, that's what I want.
Yeah, totally.
Like, obviously people will remember what you look like and like what you were good at, or your like interesting hobbies or interesting accomplishments, right? But what I really care about is like, what did they think about me in terms of like emotionality and just general influence, I guess.
Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah.
Good answer.
Thank you.
I liked it.
Yeah. How do you feel after your first podcast?
I'm feeling great. I could talk forever. It's one of my mini curses.
No, it's
strength, also weakness.
Yeah. Yeah, it's good.
Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, thanks for being on.
Of course.
You're the first Natalie I've ever had on here.
Oh, I feel so special.
Right.
Glad to be the first one.
Yeah. So yeah, I appreciate you coming on. I love talking to people that, like you asked me earlier, you're like, what kind of people do you have on, or why do you have people on? And usually the answer is just people that are interesting and like think in deep patterns. Because a lot of people are really like smart or silver-tongued, right?
Sure.
But I want to connect with people that I know just think about things in deep ways, and also people that are constantly looking to self-improve and to just kind of get the most out of life they can. And that's something I think about, something I think that you have. So,
well, thanks.
Yeah. So Merry Christmas and
Happy New Year's.
Happy birthday.
Birthday's right after Christmas, so that worked.
See what I'm saying? We're almost to November. So thanks for tuning in, everyone. Sorry about the song in the middle of the episode, but that's just how it goes. And if you think I'm going to edit it out, you're wrong.
No, it's more authentic. Leave it in.
It's staying in there. So if you didn't hate this episode, feel free to share it with a friend or a lover or ex-lover or future lover, or the lover of someone you know.
Perfect.
Yeah. Okay. We'll see you guys later. We did it.
We did it.
Yeah.
Now I'm hearing all weird.
I know, it's weird when you take them out.
My ears.
Yeah.
Well, that was fun.
Yeah.
Mahalo, bro.
Yeah, bro.
What's up? I don't know why I thought it was going to be like